Welcome everyone to the Crew Review. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Good Friday, everyone.
Oh, that's true. It's an extra Good Friday.
So good. How is everybody doing on this Good Friday? Are you doing good?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Quarantine good, but good.
So quarantined.
Yes.
Goodly.
We're breaking the rule right now.
Anyway, I'm doing great on this Good Friday. It should be called Great Friday.
I'm so glad you're doing
Kenley's
great.
he said he has his Easter fashion.
I look like an Easter egg.
He's ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, I have to know, what is your favorite Easter candy?
I love the Peeps. I love them.
You like Peeps?
I do. They're so
The
good.
Reese
I did
eggs.
not know that.
I knew that
Are
was
my
yours.
favorite.
I knew that was yours.
Yeah.
Starburst jelly beans.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
Is
those
that
are
yours?
so
Is
good.
that what yours is too?
So good.
Mine
Over
aren't
the
jelly
Reese's
beans
eggs?
though. Mine are the Starburst jelly
Yeah,
beans. Those are my favorite
specifically,
ones
yeah.
specifically.
Yes,
We
like
were-
regular ones are not as good.
Jennifer and Beth and I were in Target last week, and we bought some, but we were at Target, and they had like 5 different ones to choose
Bought
from.
some what?
Jelly
Bought some
beans.
what?
Starburst
I just wanted to
jelly
make sure
beans.
everyone knew that we were talking
Yeah,
about
Starburst jelly beans. And there was like 5 different ones. I didn't even know they had that many. I was like, I'm gonna get original because I can trust it. But there was.
I did see some new versions this year.
We should try
I would
them
like
all.
to try them. I don't know if they could take
What
place
was,
of the
you
original.
remember what those flavors were?
One of them was like mainly reds. It was like red and pink ones.
Mm.
And then there was some maybe tropical. I don't know. It could be lime.
knows?
Like a
All
song.
the things. Let us know what your favorite Easter
Yeah.
candies are.
Yeah.
I'm all
Ash-
about trying new candy.
Ashley likes anything chocolate, and I know a lot of people feel that way too. So
But
we want to know.
the
Yeah.
jelly beans though.
Anyway,
jelly beans.
thanks for listening and tuning in.
Yes.
We are live on Facebook, and we are also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So subscribe on there if you're not already. And also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Crew Review Podcast. So
Well
Instagram
done.
and Twitter. And we also have a YouTube page if that's what you prefer. So we're pretty
Whatever
much
your
everywhere.
medium, you can get it.
MySpace.
Medium, you're large, you're small, any of those.
MySpace.
LinkedIn,
Blog. What's a blog site? What didn't they? Wasn't there? What was it?
Blogspot.
Blogspot. Find us on Blogspot.
We're not on Blogspot, guys. Spoiler.
Find us on Craigslist.
We'll get merch one day, and you can find us on
Hey!
Craigslist.
We got like a black market of merchandise.
Yeah.
going.
Oh, man.
It's happening.
So good.
Oh goodness. So we did Onward for this week's podcast.
Onward.
And, it was a Disney Pixar movie starring Chris Pratt and Tom Holland and some others. Those are the 2 mains. And we're gonna jump right into it. So this is your spoiler alert, Kinley.
Spoilers. Here we go.
So buckle up and here we go. Beth, hit us with that short summary.
Do you want the short? Okay.
That's what I asked for.
So now that, even though we're in spoiler-free zone, like, just a highlight, this movie is about 2 elven brothers who have to embark on a magical quest in order to spend one more day with their dad. So it's a fun quest adventure film, and now we are going to talk about all the things. So if you haven't watched and you don't want spoilers, pause and come back later.
Yes,
Here we go.
we're getting it. All right, so jumping right in to the beginning. What happens, Beth? How does it start out?
Yeah, so we've got a narrator who's kind of setting the scene for this world, letting us know what's going on. And so basically this was a magical world filled with wizards and all sorts of magical creatures. And then they realize, like in quests, dangerous things, all the fun stuff that we know and love and associate with magic. Well, apparently magic was really hard to master, and so people started relying on technology, and magic kind of faded from the world. Magic and quests are kind of more like an afterthought, maybe even a myth, like doesn't even exist, because everyone, all the centaurs, unicorns, things like that are using technology. So that's kind of where we're at. We meet our characters. We've got Ian Lightfoot and Barley Lightfoot. Ian is played by Tom Holland. Barley is his older brother, played by Chris Pratt. They're a great duo together. It's Ian's 16th birthday, and in this world, that means he's a man. So he is shy, awkward, kind of wants to hang out in the background, and his family is like, you should take her driver's test, like invite some people over, like make some friends, like live life. He is very content being at home and being who he is. Chris Pratt is character Barley is really into this game that's a lot like Dungeons and Dragons, which is amazing. He's always doing like these campaigns, and he has all these like wizards and things that are moving all over the house. He knows everything there is to know about magic and is obsessed. Ian could care less.
Yes, I really liked the world that they created. It is such a creative universe that they made with all the magic and like combining like what the stereotypical fantasy types are. I mean, like we see them over and over and over again. People keep making these fantasy lands, but I've never really seen it merged with like today's world. And I thought that was awesome. It was so good. They did a great job. Like you just see like people having pet dragons and stuff that acted like a cat or a dog. And like instead of raccoons, they had unicorns digging in the trash and things like that. I'm trying to think of what else.
I did think it was cool just to take that mystical world and the creatures from that world and just put them in like a civilized, present day city, you know. So you've got a centaur who's a police officer, you know, stuff like that. Like that was neat, you know. They're creatures, but they've lost kind of all their magical abilities. The sprites can't fly, you know, stuff like that. So that was cool.
Yeah.
They ride motorcycles.
Yes.
Yeah, Tom Holland's character, he's definitely like an introvert who likes to he's just a little homebody, likes to just stay at home. His brother's very outgoing. They're complete opposites. His brother's also a huge nerd, like,
Huge.
and he like owns it. I feel like it's kind of like us embodied because we're all nerds and we know it. Like we love like Harry
Not
Potter
ashamed.
and stuff. Not at all. So yeah, and she likes dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, and all that.
Yeah. That was a dinosaur noise.
Quick, what's a quote from Jurassic Park?
You can't. I told you not to put me on the spot like this.
Oh, I was talking to. Never mind. Okay.
They went away.
Clever girl. That's the first one I thought of.
Moving on.
Funny. I will say I was a little disappointed in the level of magic they used throughout. And I mean, this is introduced at the beginning. I just wanted some more. Like, they stuck with just like less than 10 spells.
Yeah, I thought
Like-
that thought crossed my mind as well. Through the whole movie, there's not a lot that they do. Like my favorite one was the fireworks spell.
It would be. That would be yours. Oh, man. So Ian has to go to school, and this is really important because it kind of like sets the stage. But he makes a list of the things that he wants to accomplish because now he's 16 and he's a man, and he wants to start his life over. Meets his dad's old buddy, finds out some new information about his dad he didn't know because we find out his dad has been passed away since he was a baby. And so he decides that he wants to invite friends over, take a driving lesson, like be brave like his dad. And so he goes throughout his school day trying to accomplish these things and fails miserably at all of them. Bless him. I felt for him. Secondhand embarrassment was real.
Oh, the cringe was so real when he was like inviting those kids to his
yeah.
party.
Oh, it was
I was
so-
like, oh, please stop. No.
I would have just
No.
he made it awkward for himself though, because like his brother drove up and embarrassed him. I would have just been like, my brother is insane.
Yeah.
Like
True.
they're not gonna be like, oh, I don't want to hang out with you because of that. I've been like, just leave, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, and again, and this might just speak to his character, but he wrote a list of new me and characteristics of things he wanted to do. And when he didn't do it that one day, he marked it off. And I was like, is this like a new day kind of thing or a new me? Because I thought it would be ongoing. So I was like, why did you just mark it all off? Like, try again tomorrow, too.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
so you failed the first day.
Like, it's okay.
Like, nope, didn't do it the first day.
Not
But-
new
Wait,
me.
was it the first day of school or is it just
No, it was
No.
his 16th birthday.
Sorry.
Yeah. But he was
random
a,
thought
you
just
know.
popped in my head about
No.
that?
It was a new year for him.
New the first day of his 16th
16th
year.
year.
Yes, solid.
Yeah.
So
I wonder when you become a man in elf culture, if it's 18, is it 16?
well, they said 16.
Is it 25?
We don't.
Well, but it seems like with
but
them.
he was still in school.
Well, it seems like their culture, like their individual species culture, is not a thing anymore because they're all like
That's
in
true.
school
That's
together,
true.
you know. So I
Right.
guess it's just the standard of the city, like.
Yeah. I will say when he's taking his driving test and he's like trying to merge onto the interstate.
Merge.
And it's like super busy. I definitely had that moment with my driving teacher. I was going on 85 and the traffic was intense. And I like really remember that fear, but I also didn't want my driving instructor to know that I was afraid. So I faked it, but I like definitely remember that fear of merging onto the interstate, which poor Ian couldn't muster up enough courage to do it. He panicked and stopped, but
I couldn't tell if this was his first time like driving on a road, and I was like, why would you put him on the interstate his first time? Like, because he seems like he's never driven before,
Yeah.
and it was like learn to drive was on his
like,
list. It
let's
was like
just throw him into the interstate. It was great.
petrifying.
When I was taking my driver's test, I remember the lady. I'd never been on the interstate either before the test, and I'd only driven in a neighborhood. That's it. I hadn't even been on a real road.
Oh, gosh.
And then I got in the car with her, and she's like, "All right, just pull out here." And I was like, "Oh, like on this real road with red lights?" And she's like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay." And then she even flat out asked me. She said, "Have you been on interstate before?" And I was like, "I have not." She says, "That's okay. It's okay. We're gonna do it today, though." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I didn't get on the interstate for my driving test.
Well,
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
well, you took it in Lyman or the what? Oh,
Did it in Greer.
In
She didn't
Greer.
take me
Oh,
on
that's
the
right.
interstate.
Wow.
I went to Greer. They didn't take me on the interstate.
I took it from Bob Jones, I think, and they took me to 385. That's what it was, 385. And the traffic wasn't too bad. It just terrified me going that fast. And then she made me speed. She said, "All right, I want you to just don't worry about the cops. They won't pull me over because I have a special sticker. I want you to go 15 over, and then I want you to weave in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out." And I was like, "What?" My
Yeah,
heart
they
rate
didn't tell me
was
to do that
going.
either.
This is how we train South Carolina drivers, people. This is it. This is
This
it.
is how we prepare
And
for the
people
ice.
wonder why we're so bad.
Gosh.
Oh man.
But it's like a understood thing that even though we all learn to drive in this state, we all think we're perfect at driving. The rest of these people are idiots. But
You're the only good driver in the state.
exactly, these are the only 4 drivers that know how to do it. Right
That's
here.
right.
Do they? No.
And Ashley.
It's funny.
And Ashley, you can drive, right?
Well, actually, that's questionable.
That's questionable.
I'm not from South Carolina, though, so
She's not from South Carolina. She's from Kentucky, so
That's true.
Different
True,
standards.
true.
different
We
standards.
can't hold you to these standards.
Okay, but anyways.
But yeah, that was a real relatable moment for me. So he has a disastrous day at the school. He gets home. His mom decides that he needs a little pick-me-up and says, "Hey, there's a present from your dad that I'm supposed to give to both of you boys when you both are 16. So she goes in the attic, brings it down, and it's a wizard staff, which is so fun, with a phoenix stone and a spell that he left them that basically gives them 1 day with him.
They can bring him back.
They can bring him back from the dead, and they can have 1 more day with him.
I have an issue about this. Do you think the wife or their mom, would she have not have peeked and seen what it is that she's about to give her kids over 16 years?
I would have looked.
I would've
would have
looked.
absolutely,
Well,
especially
I
as a
would've
mother. Like, I'm not a mother, and I probably will never be a mother. I'll probably be a father here
Probably.
soon. hopefully.
If you're ever a mother, we need to talk.
Exactly. We'll have that conversation another day, and hopefully never.
Moving on.
I keep digging myself in this hole. How do
Yeah.
I get out?
Just transition.
Pull me up.
Pivot.
I'm with you on that though, and I had that issue. The mom should have checked, but also Barley says, the older brother says something like, "Dad must have been a wizard. He must have been a wizard." I'm like, Mom didn't know about that one either.
Yeah.
Like because magic is very like
Rare.
not a thing
Right.
now. You know, it's pretty much dead. And so he had a wizard staff and was still enough of a practicing wizard to write this spell. They said he
But his
wrote the
kids
spell.
didn't know.
But his kids and his wife had no idea. And then they're just like, "Oh, that's cool." And like,
I know. The reactions were just like, "Oh," and they're all 3 like gathered in the room, just like going at it with the spell.
I guess it's different because, and they say multiple times, Barley says, everything in this game's based on history.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it actually happened, like
Yeah.
history.
Right.
You know, it actually did happen. So I guess it's not like us if someone popped in and like, "Oh, wizard," we'd be like, no. But they,
No.
It's more believable for them, I guess.
Yeah.
But I still was like, I was with you, John. I was like, the mom didn't check, and the mom didn't like know. This is
Yeah.
new information to her.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It was crazy. So then Barley, who's our magic expert, and totally this is what I would have done, was super pumped, was like, all right, let's do the spell. Has never performed magic in his life and tries over and over again, fails. It's so sad. Like, it's like the whole night. And so finally they all like kind of give up, and Ian is sitting there and he just kind of mumbles the words and magic starts happening. And so
happening.
So Barley, I love this about him. Instead of being jealous that his little brother has the gift, he is pumped that his brother is a wizard.
I noticed that through the whole movie. They got they had such a good brother connection. Like they were never like at each other's throats
Yeah.
or jealous over each other. It was
They did fight.
They did fight.
well, I mean, yeah,
but it was
they
never
weren't-
Barley starting. Like that's something
Right.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was never. I mean, he's quirky. He's probably really annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
Definitely screws up every now and then. But he was nothing but supportive and like kind
Yeah.
of his brother.
Just a
you know?
big-hearted,
Yeah.
like wished well for everyone, and I thought that was great. I really loved that wasn't a moment of jealousy.
yeah.
So he does a spell. He's not strong enough to handle the spell, and they only get half of their dad. The
Barley
legs.
knocks him over, and it knocks him in.
Yeah, Barley knocks him over out of sheer excitement. The
So
spell
he's
is
got
only
waist down of Dad.
waist down.
Wobbling around.
It's real weird.
It was real weird.
But anyway, somehow they do like a little like knock on his feet, and he knows that it's his kids.
Again, how? He just knows it's his kids.
I
Like,
know.
and where's he coming from? Like, is he thinking, oh, this is the spell is he remembering this is the spell that's supposed to bring me back?
We
Or-
never hear Dad's thoughts or anything
No,
that's
you
happening.
don't.
He's just there.
He's
half
just
of
there,
him.
just his
And he can't hear.
his legs.
This is another small issue I had.
Yeah.
They talk about how Dad can't, like, he doesn't have ears, he can't hear you, so they do that knock. But then throughout the movie,
They're
they'll
talking
talk
to
and
him
they'll be
the
like,
whole
right,
time.
Dad, and da 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 da. No, he doesn't he doesn't follow them. You know, they have to hook him on a little dog leash because he can't hear and follow them. So, but they talk to him. They definitely talk to him. And I was like, continuity error.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
I did
Yeah.
like the upper half that he creates for him. throughout
That
the
was
movie.
funny.
It's pretty funny.
Got a stuffed sweatshirt
Yes.
with like a pillow head and glasses and a hat. So I thought, I want to talk to Dad's face.
So it makes it not so awkward to look at for the rest of the movie, which is great. But at the same time, it is still really weird. I kind of feel like it should have been maybe like he was in like half visible. Like that would have been cooler. But anyway, that's not the story. The story is it's his waist down. So then, as all good quests must begin, and Barley is our expert. He tells us we have to go visit the Manticore, and we have
Manticore's Tavern.
Manticore's Tavern, yes. Just like the place where all the dangerous quests start. And then they have to get a map from the Manticore. So off they go. John, what do they find?
Oh, it's a restaurant, and it's really hokey, and they're having birthday parties, and it is not what they expect. It is not this big dangerous place, and they ask around for the Manticore, and it was the mascot that popped up at first.
Mascot.
Like,
There's
"This
a
is the
Manticore."
and they're-
Stuffed mascot. That
and
was
then they're
funny.
like, no, the real one. And they point to the restaurant owner, and it's an actual Manticore, but she's like serving plates and
Running the restaurant.
Just
She's
running
kind of
the restaurant,
emerged
yeah.
into this world again.
Yeah.
You
And they were
know?
like, oh, you mean Corey? She's over there.
yeah, Corey, yeah.
Manticore, get it?
Got it.
And then they go up to her and they tell her what they're looking for, what their quest is, and they need a map. And she hands them a child's menu and says it's based on
All my original maps.
Oh
on my
Original
original
maps,
maps. And it's like one of those color, and she gives them crayons to color with.
They're like, no, we need like the real thing. And she pointed over at like on a display.
Which is dumb on her part. Oh, you
Oh,
mean
yeah.
this?
Yes, doesn't want to give it to him because she doesn't want anyone to get hurt anymore. And basically, we realize she's become very soft and it's not the cool Manticore that we thought. And then Ian has a moment of bravery, which is a big deal.
Well, and this is something that they didn't like directly mention, but everything that was on his original New Me list, even though he doesn't do it in that one day, because it takes more than one day to change as a person, okay? It slowly, throughout this whole quest, I guess which is in a day, but whatever. His whole quest, he he accomplishes he accomplishes all of these. All right.
Yes.
And this is the first one because one of his things was like speaking up more, and he, like you said, has that moment of bravery. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed that.
They don't ever like mention it again, but it's like a nice little thread that goes throughout the film. And so he like comes up to this Manticore and basically is like, you're gonna give us this map because I want to see my dad. And she's like, it's not worth the risk. And he's like, you're the one who says life is worth, like you have to take risks.
There was some saying.
Yeah, like she had this thing on the wall. And
There
then
was a picture of her with this sword and like battle, like, with that quote, the Manticore.
That's in her hand, and then all of a sudden, poor Manticore just breaks and has like a midlife crisis and goes crazy.
It's like, what have I become? No!
Starts tearing up the place.
Setting it
Catches it on fire.
Somebody, it starts like she's having this moment of realization, and one of the servers comes up and is like, table 11 says their cheese sticks are cold, and she just breathes fire on it, and it was good. I enjoyed that part.
Yeah, like she had a good sassy moment.
I'll be honest, up until this point of the movie, it was a slower start for me, and I was just kind of like, ooh, this is not what I expected. Like, come on. And then when the Manticore hit, I was like, get it, Manticore. Getting it.
I knew you were going to love the Manticore.
I did. Voiced by Octavia Spencer, everybody's favorite duck from Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah. Dab Dab.
Dab Dab.
Dab Dab the duck.
But I love Octavia Spencer, so when I heard her voice, I looked at Ashley, I was like, that's Octavia Spencer.
Yeah.
I'm going to love this character. And I did. So there you go.
But they did grab the real map, and it burnt up from the fire, which was so
sad.
sad. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's a real map. It's
the
probably
whole
worth a
time I was
lot.
telling Jennifer, I was like, just grab the kid's map. And then they did. So they listened to me through the TV.
Well done.
Which
I'm glad
doesn't always
you-
work, but sometimes if you say it loud enough and clear enough, they hear you and they listen.
They
So.
did listen to you, and that was a really good line too, because I got in the van, and Barley was like, he said, Ian was like, the map burned up, and Barley was like, but I grabbed this one of the kids' version. He's like, and Jennifer was kind enough to finish it for us. I don't remember the name. I said
Kayla.
Jennifer. Kayla. It was like, he said, and little Kayla, and little Kayla's already completed it.
Puzzle.
Raven's
was
Point.
funny. It was
So Raven's
funny.
Point is where they need to go. But it doesn't have a picture. It was just the code, right?
Yeah, it was just where they needed to go, which is hilarious. So they have two options to go. Barley says that the most obvious path always has trouble. Definitely take the harder path. We need to go down the path of peril.
Yeah.
Ian is very efficient and is like, I want as much time with Dad as possible. We need to take the interstate, or the freeway is what he called it.
They look on an actual map and they see like this enchanted quest. There's an interstate that runs right by the mountain.
Convenient. Yes. And so they argue, but Ian wins out, and so they take off down the interstate. Their first hurdle, they run out of gas.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oh, and by the way, the van's name, Guinevere.
Guinevere.
It's got this rainbow unicorn painted on the side.
Amazing.
Look, can we just also mention how every time the van started and it turned over, there was a stallion whinnying in the background? Did y'all hear that?
I did not hear that.
It is as the engine is turning over, you can hear the horse going, "Narr!" And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a horse sound.
There's
never
another
noticed that.
really
Oh, I
good
did.
sound moment with Guinevere later on that we'll talk about when we get there.
Oh, yeah.
That I really appreciated. One of my favorite parts of the movie, so we'll talk about that.
Guinevere is
Stay
a great
tuned.
character in this film.
That's so true.
Guinevere is a piece of junk, by the
Yes.
way.
A terrible
Janky van.
The
It's got
air
all this medieval stuff on the inside,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like on the sides of the van. He's like mounted all these axes and stuff on there.
The air conditioning will literally blow your face
Oh, I
off.
love that.
he beefed it up. It's like, that was good.
I love his gears, and so they did the thing, and the gear that they need to go is Onward.
It's like an O taped over the D.
Yeah. They
Just
put it
put
in
it in
O
O
for
for
Onward.
Like,
They
I
did
want
the
to change
thing.
my
Did
gears.
the thing. Yes.
We've had a lot of things happening in the past few crew
Since you
reviews.
brought it up, I notice it all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, Kinley was right. It's a thing.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the thing.
usually, they'll generally do the thing. I mean, it just depends on the movie.
Yeah.
But if there's a good moment, you know, like Steel Magnolias, I know we're digressing, but this is about movies. They never say Steel Magnolias, you know. If you haven't seen Steel Magnolias, this is a spoiler, but if you haven't, it's your own fault because it's been out for like 30 years, 40 years, whatever. So, but at the funeral, Malin's talking like women are supposed to be, you know, these men are supposed to be strong as steel, you know, and that's kind of where the name Steel Magnolias is. So they allude to it, but they don't do the thing. So I appreciate it when they can do the thing, but sometimes they'll do the thing and I don't love it because they force it.
Yeah.
You don't want to force it, but I didn't feel like it was forced here. It was like a neat part of the story, taping over the D with an O.
What show was it? Was it How I Met Your Mother, where it was like every title of each episode they say that phrase, and you and I would always try to listen for it. Is it How I Met Your Mother, or was it something else?
Yeah, they do.
They do? Okay.
It's always incorporated.
Yeah, like they say it, and we would always be like, all right, when are they going to say this? And sometimes we.
It may be How I Met Your Mother, but I think it was something else we were taught, like that we
be.
realized that. Now that's bugging
I don't
me.
know.
We'll have to
If
come
you
back
think
to
of
it.
yeah.
We'll come back. Yes.
So they ran out of gas.
Yes. Oh, and Barley is trying to teach Ian spells in the back of the van. They run out of gas, and here's his first chance to prove himself.
I have to interrupt you because I remembered what it is. It's The Amazing Race.
Oh yeah.
Every episode title.
I knew it was
You're
something
right,
you and I
you're
watched
right.
together.
Yes, because it's different. It's not like a written story. So there's like an episode of Amazing Race. We would go to watch it, and it was like some weird phrase, and we're like, let's see who says it and where it is. And that's the whole thing on. If you go to the Wikipedia page for Amazing Race, for every episode, it's like the title is said by this person. Like it's a thing
it
that people.
tells you
Yeah,
on
it tells you. So anyway, sorry, we digress.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you
Get back to
figured
it.
that out.
So our first spell is, okay, we have this gas tank in the back. It's practically empty, but Barley has the great plan of, if we make the gas tank bigger, then the gas inside will grow too.
One of the 6 spells of this world is making things bigger.
Making things bigger. And so it's like, okay, I feel like there's probably something else that would be more useful, but we'll just roll with it.
I know when he said, as soon as they like explained, he explained what his thoughts were. I was like, I mean, I guess that would work. I don't know why you would choose that path.
Well, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, you're gonna make this gas can bigger.
But then it won't fit.
Then it won't fit. How are you gonna get it in there? Like,
I don't know, but
Anyway.
it was like true to character. Like it is something I feel like Barley would think.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's one of those things that like could work, like to get the amount of gas, but not all the way thought through. Very Barley, like you
Well,
know.
and then he keeps saying the whole movie, he's like, this is a quest you have to use with what you got. With, you know,
Yeah.
and that, so that's what you got. That's what you got.
I loved how also throughout the whole movie how you would use that like lingo, like onward, let's get on this quest. Like, I don't know.
As he's in a van, like you know, I mean, there's like in this different
We
world.
start driving
you know.
through traffic like that.
Yeah.
Now. Moveth away.
I think we've met a few of those.
Yeah.
But so we're going to talk about this gas can.
So we ran out of gas.
This is like 4 times starting this bit.
Let's just start over.
We ran out of gas
Oh my gosh.
again.
Okay, so we ran out of gas. They tried the spell. It doesn't work as well as planned because, again, Ian is learning how to do magic, and he is very new. It backfires, and Barley all of a sudden becomes very tiny. He's pocket sized.
I love his reaction though. He's like, "You did it! It's huge, and the van is huge, and yours." Oh, what?
I think
That's so good.
like this is where we see some of Barley's weaknesses, and really the reason Dad's only halfway himself. You know, Ian was losing control, and Barley was like, "Here, let me help you."
Yeah.
He's too eager, fumbles, kind of
Yeah.
knocks him. And here again, with apparently the higher level you get with this magic, you've got to do something else, like to. And so this one you had to like focus on it and nothing else. You can't listen to anything else. And Barley tells him that, and then says, "Okay, you got this. You got." Like the whole time he's trying to do, he's like, "You got it. Just do it. Like elbow higher." Da, 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 da. He's just too too
helpful.
eager,
Yeah.
too helpful. And because of that, Ian gets frustrated, and that's when it accidentally shoots at Barley and does the opposite. But that's where we see some Barley weakness. He's just a little too helpful with
Yeah.
some of this. So
So this is where I have a plot point issue. The spell can wear off. Like there isn't a counter spell. Like Barley shrinks, but he's like, "Don't worry, it'll wear off in a little bit."
Yeah.
At no point in the movie does any other spell. Well, I guess there is one more. There's another spell.
We'll get back. I got stuff to say about that later.
Yeah, but I'm just like, in the world of magic, I feel like it's usually a counter spell.
Unless because he keeps calling him a young mage, as a young wizard or whatever. So I wonder if it's just because he was young, because that was something I thought that I had not thought about. But it makes sense because like if it wears off, then wouldn't the gas disappear?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It would.
Yeah. So anyway, Ian does what everybody else in the world does. He takes the gas can and walks to the gas station. And while he's pumping up gas,
Which is like 2 blocks away.
Yes.
Like, we didn't want to think about that first. Okay.
I know, like, I feel like it could have been a much easier solution. But I love this part because while he's there, these motorcycles pull in. And
It looks like they're being
they're like
They're
ghost
originally
Yeah.
ghost right,
Yeah.
like no
I
one's
was like,
there.
I was like, what's happening right
Yeah.
now?
And then we see it's pixies, like a dozen pixies for each motorcycle, because that's how they have to get it going. So funny. And this is where we kind of are introduced to, and they're like bikers, mean bikers, all right? And they're kind of raiding the gas station with all this
Yeah.
stuff. And this is where we hear about the fact that they haven't used their wings, so they've lost kind of the ability to fly.
Right.
So we see that these magical creatures may look magical, but they don't have that magic anymore. So Ian's intimidated by the pixies, and he takes Dad in, and Dad's got the pillow top that keeps like wobbling back and forth, and like hits a pixie or something accidentally.
Steps on one.
Oh, yeah, he steps
Yeah.
on
He's
one.
feeling around.
'Cause he's trying
and
to
then
feel
another
around.
one's like, "What are you doing?"
And his head kind of
wheels
like-
up on him. That face was the best. One of my favorite parts.
They thought he was sassing him, so.
Yeah. So then it's on. They have to race back to Guinevere, and the pixies are chasing them. And
Well, Ian gets out of there at that
That's
moment, but what really makes it on, because Barley had to go to the bathroom, so he hands him the bathroom key, even though he's really
Just
this
as big as
tiny.
he
is. Yeah.
But what gets them mad is he argues with them about, because he's
Oh,
telling them
okay.
like, your ancestors were lazy, that's why you can't fly, all that stuff.
Which reminds me of like when you're at a family dinner and people start talking politics and it gets really awkward and it's just like, just stop, but walk away. But he like proceeds to tell them that their ancestors were lazy.
And they're trying to back away, and I think Dad gets bumped into the motorcycles, and they,
They
Yeah.
all fall over.
which traps most of them in the
Gas
in the
station.
gas station for the moment.
Yeah.
But they're mad, and that's when they have to run back to the van, which doesn't take them a long time. Therefore, we know it's like a block or two away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
get there real fast. And then they're like racing down the interstate. And because Barley is tiny, Ian has to drive, poor guy.
Yeah. So he's like teaching him how to drive as he's flying.
And he has to get on the interstate.
has to get on the interstate and-
See, on that list, one of the
Yep.
things he wanted to do was learn how to drive, and he did it with
So
the
he
quest.
merged into the perilous traffic of what was their name of their land?
I don't know,
Yeah.
but it had 2 moons.
I
did.
Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I was
too.
thinking
The whole
like
movie, at first thought I was like,
Tatooine or something from
Yeah.
Star Wars, but
I feel like it has something to do with like New Mushroom Town
Oh,
or
it did have-
something, because the high school was
I'll
called
look
New
it up.
Mushroom Town High
I'll
School,
look it up.
which that's what makes me think that. I don't know that. I'm just.
It was like,
about to say.
I did see New Mushroom Town or something like that a
Oh,
couple
little
times.
houses are mushrooms.
Yeah, that was cute. That was
It was
cute.
The inside didn't look like a mushroom at all. I'm like, what
that's
is
funny.
this?
Well, sometime during here, the boy's mom comes back because they've left the house. She had gone to get his birthday cake. She sees a note on the door, finds the cards, knows what where they're going. So she goes to the Manticore's Tavern. The fire department is there putting out the fire by the Manticore.
I'm sure they're on fire. They're on fire.
That was funny. There's a local cop. So apparently Barley is a teen activist trying to preserve these old, like
Historical
sites like that pertain to this magical world, and he's like trying to chain himself to them so they don't tear him down. And we have a police officer keeps having to come and come after Barley, and we find out it's okay. This is another point.
Yes.
Is he their stepfather, or is he their mom's boyfriend? Because he is
boyfriend.
referred to as both at different parts in the movie.
This is true.
When
Well-
did they say stepdad?
That when he talks to his other officer friends later on, they talk about having a new family is hard, and he like how he's stepping in the role of father,
The
and
other, other cop wasn't saying that. We won't go there. Saying that her partner they weren't married, but that she was also a new parent.
Right, but the other
as
ones were
well.
referred to. He was definitely referring like this is like they were married. And I think at one point, anyway, I definitely heard like stepfather
It
and
was confusing at what the relationship was because there were hints of him being stepfather, but also he was boyfriend.
I feel like they were maybe going more towards the boyfriend, though.
I think so
but-
too.
I think so too.
It was just kind of confusing to pick out.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I agree with that.
But his name.
his name,
Okay, he's a centaur. His
kind of
name.
a fat centaur.
His name is Colt Bronco.
Yes.
The best.
It was a
I
good
love
name.
this name.
It
It's
was a
so
good
great.
Did
name.
y'all notice every time he called the mom, what it popped up
Oh,
as
yes.
on her
It was
phone?
it was a funny song, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, it
no,
was
his name.
Oh, his name.
On her
Main
phone.
Man.
Main Man,
M-A-N-E. I saw it. But the song was
Like
funny
that.
too, because it was like,
Oh my God, it was great.
you know.
They had
Oh,
so
what
many
song
little
was it?
things.
I don't remember.
It's like the classic
kind of
one they always
sexy
do. I'm not going to
song.
sing
Yeah.
it for you, but I know what it is. But
But the main man is what his contact was
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
mom's
I
phone.
loved that.
M-A-N-E.
I
that
thought
was funny. I
one of the
noticed that.
funniest things
so great.
Yeah.
So Mama Manticore.
Mom and Manticore. So Manticore's there. My favorite part is like she's filing a police report, like you know, and she has first name last name Manticore.
It's Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" was the song.
Okay.
What's the town?
Oh, it didn't say.
We didn't find the town. New
Nicholas.
Mushroom Town, we think. So, but basically, the mom and the Manticore team up.
Yes.
So Manticore gets in Mom's van because the Manticore told the boys about the map, about the gem, but didn't
Oh,
mention.
that's right. She forgot the curse.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
a curse when you take the gem.
She's like, I told them about the curse. The curse.
I
didn't
forgot
tell them
about the curse.
You're like, oh,
Which
things that you need to
apparently
know.
can only be beaten by her
Sword.
sword.
Crusher.
Curse
Is
Crusher,
that what it
this
was
big
called?
sword.
The Curse Crusher.
Which we find out
Huge.
she pawned when she had some issue with the IRS.
So great.
Taxes.
Which
And then
is
they show up at a
so
pawn
funny.
shop. It's so
The
great.
lady's
Yes.
like, I'll sell it to you for $10. Thanks. This is the greatest sword in all the land.
This is one of a kind. Never, you know. She's like $10,000. Like you never say that in front of a pawn shop person. So,
Classic 101 on
What did they do to get away with it again?
so we
Stung her.
find out
Oh,
the
yeah.
Manticore
half
It's just a
scorpion. And she's
half lion, half, or it's like lion, winged.
bear, lion.
Well, the person at the pawn shop said bear, but I think she's just a lion, a winged lion scorpion
yeah.
thing is what it was. So lion and a scorpion with wings. So she's got this tail. Stabbed the woman in the neck. And the mom was like, "Oh, this is what'd you do?" And she said, "It's okay. She's just paralyzed for a little bit."
Here's Google's dictionary. It says, a mythical beast typically depicted as having the body of a lion, the face of a man, and the sting of a scorpion. So,
There's not a face of a man on that.
Well,
no.
it was a woman.
I liked.
It wasn't the face of a woman either. Rawr.
We don't know what you really look like with that makeup. Who knows? Very manticore-ish under there.
Tell you, quarantine life is not pretty.
That's what you're gonna look like in about a month after no nail salon, no hair salon. Well, it was funny. About that pawn shop though, when they drove up the Manticore, because it's all the Manticore and then Barley sometimes say things with this like medieval or magical quest tone.
Yeah.
And it's like the Curse Crusher lies behind those gates, and the camera pans over, and it's like the gates of the pawn shop. Like the bars on the doors, and
The
no one
lights
breaks
on
it.
the sign are like flickering. It's obviously
That
not
was
up
funny.
to par.
That was funny.
I relate really well to their dramatic flair.
Yes.
It's great.
I loved the Manticore, and we find out the Manticores that those wings aren't like they used to be. I haven't been exercising them like the doctor said. So
Such a good line.
it was.
Oh,
So-
man.
Oh man.
So they get the sword.
Yep, and then we go
And-
back to the pixie chase
Pixie chase.
on the interstate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and these pixies are brutal. Like they are vicious.
They're coming after.
They're coming after them. They are not relenting, and Ian is having to change lanes like crazy.
Without a blinker.
Oh yes, he doesn't have a signal.
He goes like, Barley's like, put the signal on, because he's still tiny. Put the signal on. You don't have a signal. Oh yeah.
Stick your arm out like this.
You stick your arm out like that, So he's having to change lanes for the first time on the interstate, just with his arm out, which the
Seems
pixies
real safe.
latch
In the dark.
onto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they're in the
Or
van.
yeah, get a chain wrapped around.
Yeah. So crazy.
It's great.
At one point in time, Dad's fumbling around because they're going crazy. He leans out the window, and it's just his upper torso, but it looks like he's like,
It's like waving.
Yeah.
mad at the Pixies. They get mad. They get revved up,
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. And then they're in the van, and I love this because they're all over Ian's face. He can't see to drive. They're beating everyone up, and then they flick on the air conditioning. And the Pixies are
Pixies are
gone.
gone. It was perfect. It was perfect.
And they were about to land on the ground, but then they fly.
That was, and that's another piece I like about this. Like we see how these magical creatures don't have their magic anymore, but throughout the movie get their
It's
abilities
wakening up, I
back.
think.
So
it's an awakening.
yeah.
Yes.
I like it.
They're about to crash or land on the ground or something, and they their wings click into action and they can fly again. So
Yeah.
that was neat.
It
They
was.
really did help them. So then they get pulled over by the cops, who happen to know who their stepdad or / boyfriend, mom's boyfriend is.
Who knows?
So they get pulled over. Dad has fumbled out of the back of the van and is walking around. It kind of looks like he's drunk. So
They're thinking we got a drunk driver on our hands or
yes, 'cause
something.
they were driving a little crazy because of the Pixies, and so.
Apparently, one of the other 6 spells is that you can have the appearance of somebody else, but you just can't tell a lie.
You have to say the
You have to
truth, yeah.
say everything
Yeah.
that's true. So the boys pretend to be Officer Bronco, their stepmom's boyfriend, and I thought it was funny the way they even though the spell's supposed to appear, they still had to get in his shape or something. I don't know,
It was
because
weird.
Barley pretends to be the second part of the horse, which is funny. But throughout
I
this
like how
little-
they did that though, visually.
Yeah,
Like
I
how
thought
the
it was well
front
done.
side showed the cops what they saw that looked like what's the cop's name again?
Officer Bronco,
Officer Bronco,
Colt
thank you,
Bronco.
Colt. And then on the side you see them the way they are, the way
Behind
it's kind of like in Harry
image.
Potter you see the inside of the cloak
Yeah.
and the outside of the cloak.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
It was interesting. It was good. I really thought, visually, this movie was very good throughout. I liked
The animation
everything
was
they
great.
did.
Yeah.
They did with it. So that was good.
Yeah.
But we have some,
They wiggle out of the situation, but
They keep
Ian
lying.
tells a few lies.
and one of the lies, apparently Barley's been the brunt of some of the officers' jokes because he's continuing to, chain himself to these historical monuments. And they say something about he's embarrassing or a disappointment or something. And Ian says, no, he's not. And then we've realized that's a lie. So that really hurt Barley a little bit. So that's a little piece they've got to try and come back for. And
Yeah.
which they don't really talk about it that much, to be honest.
They do.
but-
They do mend it though a little bit, and then basically they have the conversation, and so Ian agrees to go on the path of peril, and so they take Guinevere off on this rocky road. They lose Guinevere's poor bumper and just falls off on the first rock.
Well, we see that after they drive off, because they're starting to turn back into themselves, because they keep saying more and more
Yeah.
lives, and they get in the van. They drive off, and one of the officers walks over and sees the hoof prints turn into regular shoe prints. So she knows
So
something's
that's
going on.
yeah.
So she puts in a call in to Officer Bronco to try and to see where he is, to see what's going on. So because of that, they find out it wasn't really him, and so he comes after the boys now on
Yeah.
this road. So
Yeah. So they drive down this road, and then they come to a bottomless cavern.
Yes.
Super interesting.
where if you fall down it, you'll never stop falling.
Thought
Who
that was-
invented this thing?
Don't
It's
know.
fantasy.
Don't know. So the only way across is to use one of the other spells of this world.
What are we up to now?
I think this is
Four?
spell 4 or
This is the fourth
5.
one? Yeah.
So, because we see at the beginning they use a fireworks spell. So you've got that one.
Yeah.
Then we've got the making things bigger spell. The dad wrote the spell to bring him back to life, they said.
That little levitating spell.
The levitating spell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now we've got this spell where they walk on
Yeah, it forms an invisible
four.
bridge.
bridge.
5,
Face.
6. This is our sixth
So this
spell.
is 6th.
Yes.
So this was weird because that wasn't the only way across. That was how one person had to get across to let the actual bridge down, which is on the other side. And I was
Yeah.
like, how inconvenient. There's a drawbridge on the other side.
And here's my thing. you call it a bridge, an invisible bridge, but it's not really a bridge. It's just so that they can walk on air. So, like, call it something else. Because if it was an invisible bridge, then they should have been able to drive across. I also had like an Indiana Jones moment.
What
with
if he
this.
did the spell and then got behind the wheel
Yeah.
of the car and believed? Could he
Yeah.
drive?
I bet he could.
I bet he could.
And that was something else about this spell. They have these different levels. Thing you've got to do. You've got to believe without
Yeah.
like
Every
certainty.
step, yeah.
Every step. But
Every step.
that was just also a little interesting.
But I liked it, and I liked the internal turmoil we see of him, and he's like not trusting the spell, and he's not trusting himself, and so he has Barley tie a rope around him so that he can get across, and like he falls the first time and does it again.
Pulls him up.
Still has the rope and tries it, and so he's believing, but it's interesting that it's working because he still has that safety rope.
Well, that was another question I had. I said, if he's tying the rope around his waist, is he really believing that the spell's going to work?
No.
No. But it worked. So I was like, that didn't quite line up as well.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
And the actual spell was 2 words, and it was something Invisio. And I was like, well, if you want to see the bridge, why don't you just say Visio instead of Invisio? Because I was like, couldn't you just tweak this spell? I mean, how rigid is this magic?
Apparently
you
not
can write
very-
your own.
yeah,
the
you
dad
can-
writes his own to bring him back, so.
Yeah. Anyway. But he does finally get like
makes it.
halfway across, loses the rope. Barley realizes this is a problem, but doesn't say anything and is very encouraging to him. He gets all the way to the last step and he looks back, and that's when he realizes the rope's gone and he falls, but he does catch himself.
But he catches himself. This movie had a lot of like scare jumps for me, or really like more than a
that
usual
anxiety
kid. Like get that like Ashley
Oh,
describes
that
that
gave you
feeling when you go over
anxiety?
like the roller coaster or the
yeah.
whatever. But not during that moment. But as soon as he fell, I was like, and it pulled me in, which I appreciate. There were a couple other moments like that, even before then and then after then as well, that just kind of had me like that moment. That was good. I like that.
One of my favorite lines in the movie was right there. As soon as he gets to the other side, he's like, how long was the rope gone? It's like, only like the second half.
That was good. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
They make it across the bridge, and then their mom's boyfriend is really fast apparently, and he's caught up with them, and he tells them that they need to come home. They're like, no, we're on this quest. Then he finds out about their dad, which is really an awkward moment. The like, he's only halfway there, and it's weird. They decide to run for it.
He says, get in, follow me, I'll escort you home. And they get in, and Ian just gets in the driver's seat and just goes for it, floors
We're
it,
proud of him.
floors
Way to
it.
go. Way to be rebellious.
And apparently Broncos called for backup, even though when they talked to him, like the other officers an hour maybe before,
Yeah.
they said he was on the other side of town. He makes it all the way here,
Yes.
and 5 or 6 other backup
I never
cars.
thought about that, but you're so right.
Yeah, I was like, as soon as he showed up, I was
There's a
like,
fleet.
he was supposed to be all the way over there. So far away that the officers thought it was really weird he would be here,
Yeah.
But he makes it there like no time. And they have this whole fleet chasing after these boys.
I do love this one part because, Ian's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm running from the cops. And Barley's like, you're not running from the cops, you're just running from Colt. And then like the whole fleet of cops come and he's like, well, okay, now you're running from
Now
the
you're
cops.
running from the cops.
And that's the first part that made me go like, oh, is it his boyfriend? Or because he says, you're running from mom's boyfriend,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was funny. That was good.
that was funny.
And they get in a dead end.
They hit a
Back
dead
in the
end.
cliff.
They apparently got really far ahead of the cops because they have a lot of
And this
time to figure this
Really
next part
crappy
out.
van. Yes.
In the really crappy van. So there's the spell he'd been wanting to do. When he was looking at the book from the beginning, was like the lightning energy spell
Yeah.
or whatever.
Arcane.
Arcane lightning, yeah. And it was one of the hardest things to do, but he's done all this other stuff, so apparently he's a pro wizard now. Even though
Pro.
apparently the reason magic died out was because this was hard for people to do. Whatever. So anyway, they look and they're at this dead end, but there's kind of a pass and there's some rocks that they came through. There's some rocks up ahead, and if Ian can use that arcane lightning, he's got to do all the different things. He's got to believe for sure. He's got to tunnel, block everything out,
yeah.
like all the different things. Then he can blast it and make it happen. And again, Barley's so supportive of him here.
Yes.
I know you're ready. I know you can do it.
Yes.
Ian can't quite make it happen. And so, an emotional scene.
Barley has such a good moment here.
He decides that he's going to sacrifice
Guinevere.
His pride.
his pride, his stallion. I guess
Puts
it's a
a
woman.
brick
Never
or
mind.
something on
A
the
rock
gas
on the
pedal,
gas
a
pedal.
rock, and
Yeah.
then just aims the steering wheel and
Puts it in O for
puts it in
Onward.
O.
And it
Let her
goes.
rip.
And right after kind of it heads off, this is what I was talking about, the sound. I don't know if you noticed, but the back tire popped. And the sound it makes sounded like a horse
The
galloping.
galloping. I heard that too.
I thought that was really neat. So
I
it's this
love the van.
majestic
Catch
mu-
that.
The
music.
van could be a character that I liked.
It was
probably be
cool.
the van.
It was cool.
I think
But
it counts as a character.
It does. It
Oh,
does.
And I like the
100%. Guinevere is
It
real.
does. So Guinevere goes up this ramp, crashes into the rocks. The rocks fall. There's a
Walks
huge
past.
boulder. But I thought it was so sad because the van falls to the ground before the rocks, and the huge boulder just crushes the van. I was like, insult to injury, man.
I
Like,
mean,
poor Guinevere.
There's
So.
no recovery from this.
No, and they've got to continue on foot.
Yeah.
So then and before they did all this, when they were at the bridge,
Yes.
they saw the raven statue pointing. That's what it was. And
They're trying
they
to
were
get
like,
to the next
maybe
raven."
it's where the raven's pointing, not
The Raven Point.
Raven Point
Place.
Mountain or
Yeah.
whatever. So then they follow that point, and they see another raven it's pointing to. How could it not be that, you know? And that's pretty clever for them to pick up on.
It
so
was.
they
I
start
thought
walking
it
to
was
the
a
next.
little easy to follow, but whatever. We're gonna move on from that. And then so they do follow the raven.
Okay.
Well, I just
Hurt my feelings, Beth.
I liked it. I just thought it was easy.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I thought it was not as easy just because there's a literal mountain called Raven's Point,
Yeah.
and then they have like Raven. I'm like, could go either way.
It really could.
And every
But
time they
we're
second guess
also
themselves, I'm
trusting
thinking
a
they're on the wrong.
clue from a kid's coloring food map.
But it was
Based on
based on the
the real
Manticore's
thing, Beth.
real map.
One of those for the wrong.
Kayla
one.
knows what she's doing. Little
does
Little
know.
Kayla did a good job. Little Kayla colored inside the lines and everything.
She did great.
She did. She did. It was beautiful. And
Neat handwriting.
colors. A for effort.
Yeah. Oh man.
So anyway, they follow the point until they follow lots of raven points until they get to
There's
the river, right?
Yeah,
Is there something else that happens?
there's the last raven is looking straight down.
That's what it was, yeah.
And it's on like this reflective bronze base,
plate, yeah.
you know, and it was reflecting up to like the raven's chest, where there's like a little, looks like a puzzle piece kind of breakout part that they take, and it's got some kind of inscription on it that looks
That
like.
thing, all right, so it comes into play later on, but like, it's a good thing they brought it with them.
That's exactly what
I
I
was
told
like,
Ashley. I
that's a good
said,
thing.
I was like, I'm glad they took that with them. Like, and held on to it through all the trials we're going to talk about. But I was like, I would have left that thing. Like, as the next clue, like, oh my
this is
goodness.
gonna ruin it for the next person. I'll leave it.
I was like,
Yeah.
no one told them to take it. So I was like,
Also, it's in the shape of like a plus sign, and it has an X. So it's like water and an X, and so they decide to like go to the end of the river. But I'm like, there are two ways you could go. Like,
Yeah.
what if you went the wrong way?
it does look. I mean, if you turn, you mean just because the water has two ends? I guess
Yeah.
they just followed the current.
I mean,
Current,
there's
yeah.
just a
Yeah.
lot of faith and good luck that happens.
I did feel like I was like, because Raven's Point, there was another mountain. I was like, it could be this, but it could also really be that. I'm like, they just kind of, with everything, I'm like, they just pick one of these like 2 or 3 options, and it's working out. So that's good, but you're still like, you know, nervous. So
Yeah.
this is where we hit our 7th spell. They're in the river trying to get down faster,
I love this spell.
and Barley's eating Cheetos, and they've got to work with what they've got, because they realize they can use a propelling spell to make them go faster, but they don't have anything to float on. So they use that enlarging spell
Yeah.
to make the Cheeto large like a raft. They get on it and it floats. That Cheeto would have disintegrated, but whatever. The water, listen,
I
the
love that
water
he's
would not have
eating
held up. He's just eating pieces of the raft, you know, whatever. So set on down the river on the way to the end.
They try out your favorite spell.
My favorite spell?
The fireworks spell.
Yeah, the fireworks spell.
Yeah. So he's kind of like, Barley's kind of like teaching him new spells as they go
Forgot
along.
already.
They get to the end of the
Oh, they used
river.
the velocity spell too.
Yeah.
They use that one on the
Yeah.
boat, yeah, to get them to go faster.
Yep. We get to the end of the river, and they have to go into the chamber.
Yeah, there's like a chamber, and then there's like a circle at the bottom, and it's like, do we press it? No, don't press that. and then water starts filling
Something
up.
happened before that.
I think they have to go through the crazy tunnel
Oh.
first.
Yeah.
There's
One
the
of your
that's
another
good.
one of my favorite parts. The
green.
gelatinous
They
cube.
keep referring to this. Barley keeps referring to this gelatinous cube.
A green.
A green
So I
gelatinous
researched it.
cube.
Apparently, that is one of the most famous things in Dungeons and Dragons. It's like one of the.
Is it
on-
called
from-
that?
It is called. I think so. I think it's called the gelatinous cube. I could be wrong, but
Better get
it is-
permission.
It's
I
one of the
don't
first
play
bosses
that at all.
apparently that you encounter from the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So that's where they got it from.
I got friends we could ask.
How interesting. Apparently, the green gelatinous cube just disintegrates anything it touches.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you
It
go.
was like
Except there was
Except the surface that it's on, right?
Yeah, and weren't there bones in the middle of it too? Why were the bones
Yeah.
not disintegrating?
Well,
There's
the
a lot of
bones, it hadn't gone
questions.
through yet. The bones were killed before the gelatinous cube got triggered, I think is what it was saying. Because there were a lot of things they hit. So they hit the...
Maybe it has to be living. That doesn't make sense because then the top half of Dad gets disintegrated.
I'd really like to know.
What did the
physics
bones
of
not
this.
get taken care of with the gelatinous
What are
cube?
the
I
rules
think
of
the
a
gelatinous
gelatinous
cube
cube?
dropped down and it already had some stuff
Yeah,
in
it
it.
did.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, maybe just picked it up and
Maybe
it
they
was
just
on its
reused
way.
it.
I don't know.
Maybe so.
long
Dad,
does
the
it
top
take to
half of Dad
disintegrate?
got sucked in and went fast. Maybe human, it takes a lot longer. That's what's bad about it. It is like a lengthy burn,
Maybe, I don't
Slow
know.
burst.
slow burn.
Do you think it was lime flavored?
Surely,
Oh gosh,
gotta be,
what a
right?
terrible
Green
way
apple?
to die.
Green apple.
green apple or lime. How would you prefer to go? A green,
apple or
apple,
lime?
gelatinous
Or
cube,
lime
or lime gelatinous cube?
cube.
I would lime.
I think lime.
I would want to go lime.
Lime.
I like a green apple. Yes, actually,
green
yes.
apple. Oh my god.
Well,
yes.
there you go.
Let us know which one you would prefer. If you know the physics of this gelatinous cube, please let us know because I'm very confused.
But we see Ian just kind of taking control of this magic a little more to get through. You know, it's this long tunnel. The gelatinous cube drops down after them. All of these swords and things are coming out.
Which makes me
Arrows.
again think of Indiana Jones.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the bowl.
Very Indiana Jones feel
Dad's
here.
top half gets cut off by one of the things, but it was
Gets-
fine because
Yes.
it was just a
Why that
sweatshirt.
swinging,
Yes.
Oh, that was fun.
Gelatinous
Yeah,
cube
that
gets
happened, yeah.
stuff like that. And
funny.
but we see Ian throughout this kind of taking more control of his magic with the wizard staff because the only thing I thought here, because they're almost to the end of this tunnel, they've got to get over this basically trench that's got these spikes.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that walk thing,
Right?
he says, "Barley, jump," and then does the levitation spell of Barley inches from the spikes,
spike.
and then uses Barley as a bridge to hop
I
over.
thought that was funny. I was like, "What are you doing?"
I was like, there you go. So
Maybe he couldn't
It
do it on
does.
himself.
I was going to say
though.
maybe
he
that
could do it
does
for
bring
him
up a
though, and then
good
bring Barley
question.
over.
How
Yeah,
they
like he had
brought Barley
levitated over.
there.
I
But
don't
then
know.
anyway, but they got Dad through, and then the gelatinous cube drops down in the trench.
In the
It's perfectly
fit.
fit.
And that's I thought the same thing, Kinley. I was like, why does it perfectly fit into
it
that
did.
pit?
Well, it was planned to be there.
How does it get
so-
reset? Like,
Probably it has a
Resets it.
conveyor belt that it rides and it goes.
Right all the way back.
I bet there's a gelatinous cube caretaker. I bet
There must
there is.
be. I'd like to know his name.
He probably looks like
That
Filch.
is
She probably works in a cubicle.
They outsource.
He's in the back there. Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, so funny.
But the
It's
end of
one
this has
purpose of
the closing door that they get through. Dad, I mean, and that was one of the other moments that got me.
Yeah.
They barely get through and have to pull Dad through, and Dad almost got a foot cut
I
off.
know.
I'll
I know.
just tell
I did
you.
too. I was like, oh gosh.
I thought it was funny that they decided to pull him through, starting with the expandable leash, y'all. They start with the handle on that and start pulling that. I'm like, y'all, it expands.
Yeah.
Like, what are
Not
you
working.
doing?
Hopefully they had clicked the button.
Hopefully
that
they
locks.
had. But if I were
In
panicking,
the
I don't
heat of the
know.
moment, you may not think
I
it
don't know.
through.
Yeah.
You
I
may
would have
be
just
like,
grabbed the cord
Who
first,
knows?
thoh, and then yanked it
Yeah.
out.
Who knows?
I seriously
I was
thought they
not
were
in
going to
that
be
situation,
separated. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, this is not gonna be good. But then we hit the circle.
Yeah.
They hit the circle. Yeah, the chamber. Water starts filling in, and there's a button at the bottom, but they don't press it because
Barley said, "No, don't stand on the circle, the
Yeah.
center circle."
thinking it's a trap. And so maybe we were supposed to.
And that's what opens up the top door,
Yeah.
Yes.
so they can get out.
So he swims down. Was it he or Ian that swam down?
Barley.
Barley did.
Barley swam
But
down.
he can't stay
Couldn't
down there
hold
long
his
enough,
breath.
so they send Dad down.
Because you've got
That's
to
what it
apparently
was.
have your
Thank
feet
you.
on it
Forgot.
long enough to open all
make
the
it,
way.
yeah.
But then once it gets all the way open, it's locked. But you have to get
Yeah.
it open all the way first.
ridiculous.
So they send Dad down because Dad doesn't have a mouth
And
to
that
drown
leash
with.
comes in clutch, man.
I know, they
Pull
keep-
him back up. It's like, let's go, Dad.
What a
I'm glad his
great
belt loop didn't
thought.
break.
I know.
Right, that's a great thought. How heavy is?
How heavy
we're
is
at.
half Dad? I don't know.
That's a good thought.
Anyway,
So they get to the top,
Half a pound.
and they find out that this whole time they've gone all the way back to their town.
They open up
At their high
the
school.
sewage drain across
Right, yeah.
the street
yeah.
from the high school.
Oh, it's a
New
heart-wrenching
Mushroom
moment.
Town High.
They're nowhere
Mushroomton.
cool. It's school.
And then we have Ian melt down on Barley a little bit because
Yeah.
guess what? He says it was probably, the mountain. We could have taken the interstate and all this stuff. And Ian's just not happy.
In that moment, though, I was like, how could you doubt it when, like, you had
So
all
many-
the pointing statues in the cube? Like, that wasn't just there, It was there for
Yeah.
a reason.
Definitely.
well, they had mentioned one time though that they think they were on a wrong quest, on a different
Yeah,
Oh, a
quest.
different
Yeah.
like,
quest?
that
They
was
said-
the gauntlet, so maybe it could have been for another quest.
Oh, I must have
Again.
I must have missed that.
You gotta
It was in
be
his
careful
short
about
little
which
rant.
kidsman you
Okay.
choose.
Because there's all kind of quests over here, and Kayla could have done multiple menus.
Kayla's smart. She could have
Kayla's
figured it
smart.
out.
Kayla can handle it. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Ian takes Dad off for the last few moments.
And something we forgot to mention is this bell only brings him back for 24 hours. And this
Yeah.
whole time, Ian's got a countdown on his watch. And this has taken
The whole day.
24
whole-
hours
yeah.
to try and get this done. We're
Yeah.
at like 23 hours and 50 minutes or something. We got like 10 minutes left until
So-
Dad's gone.
So he takes him over, sits on a ledge, and he's really sad. Barley is still believing in this quest. He's searching, comes across the very fountain that he was trying to save
had
earlier.
chained himself to
Yes.
the day or two before, 2 days before.
Again, the construction workers are like, "Get out
There
of
we
here!"
go again.
Like, what are you doing?
And Barley's
History
going crazy on
freaks
it. He's
back.
trying to, because it said like the end of the water or something like.
Yeah, so he was like, "Oh, water."
So it was this fountain kind of
Yeah.
thing. He's looking in the water. He's looking. So climbs up at the top and sees this plus-shaped hole. Which we're
Thankfully,
glad they brought that
convenient.
clue, kept
they
it through
did
the gelatinous cube, kept it through the water,
Yeah.
didn't lose it,
Oh, man.
and it worked.
And then red smoke starts billowing out of the statue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
turned
top
around.
thing had
After I took the gem out,
opens.
yeah.
He takes the gem out, and we have the red smoke because we realize.
Yeah, the gem.
I had forgotten, but we realize the Manticore
curse.
still hasn't caught up with them.
The curse
They
is real.
still have not
He's like,
told her
"It's
about the
cursed."
curse.
But he kind of figured it out because he knows all about everything, all those
Yes.
quests and
Yeah.
everything. So he's like, it's the curse.
So Ian started coming back at this point
Well,
because. You tell me,
this
this
is one
is
of my this is a highly emotional moment for me. So Ian is sitting with his dad, and he had made this list of all the things he wanted to do with his dad when they made him a whole person, and he wanted to play catch and share his whole life with him and learn how to drive and like all these things. And throughout the quest, as they've been losing hours, he's been crossing stuff off because he wasn't going to be able to do everything. And he's sitting there and he starts to realize, like, Barley taught him how to drive. Barley has been there his whole life. All these things, he's had Barley in his life who has been there guiding him and being there with him. And it was just a really sweet moment. And so he jumps.
The feels.
It gave me the feels, for sure.
It was good. I still have an issue with Ian's list taking.
Yes.
Because again, he made this list of things to do with Dad, and just because he did it with his brother, like that's wonderful. But you didn't do it with your dad.
Dad,
Like you
right.
didn't, and he checks them off the list. Like, yeah, I did it. I'm like, it literally says things to do with Dad, not with Barley. So I'm glad he did it, and it was a very emotional.
It
moment.
was, yeah.
But I wish they would have just reworded the list
He's
a little
16, man.
bit. Very true.
But basically, like, he realized Barley has kind of been like this dad figure in
Yeah.
his life that he needed. Grabs Dad, runs back to find Barley so they can like repair after this fight. And there's the curse. And the dragon, I'll let you talk about this since you love like dinosaurs and dragons.
I love the dragon. Alright, so the curse comes out, and it's like this little ball, right, guys? And the ball starts reaching out with like smoky arms and grabs pieces of the high school and starts assembling this dragon. And I love the dragon so much because on the wall of like the gym, they had the mascot painted on there,
Which was a dragon.
which was a dragon. So
Like
the
not any
curse-
elaborate painting, just
No,
like
it
a
was so
green
simple.
cartoon looking.
But
cartoon
at the
dragon.
end, you see the dragon finally turns around and looks at you, and he's taken the face from the mascot and put it on himself, and he's like taken off the eyebrows and made it look angry.
Well,
Instead of this really happy dragon.
At first, it was still the smiling face
Yeah.
like
And then
this.
he got
And then he
angry.
busts the smiling mouth, and then he gets mad and busts.
And
It
then
was
he
funny.
roars,
It was funny.
you guys, and it's a school bell.
It's so
It was a
His
funny.
school
roar
bell.
is a school
was
bell.
so
I'm
creative. I
this
loved
is
it.
the best thing a teacher could ever see.
I enjoyed
I
it.
just loved it.
I was initially disappointed that I didn't see like an actual dragon. I was like, oh no, not an actual dragon. But
Yeah.
the way they did it with like
so
the
really
bell and all
creative.
that stuff,
It was
I was
so
like,
cool.
I thought it was
that's
very
cool.
creative.
And you can see the core inside because
Yes.
that's what the Manticore is talking about. You've got to stab the core with the
kill it.
Curse Crusher sword, you know. So, yeah.
And she and Mom appear. They
Finally.
catch up.
Flying!
Finally.
Flying!
They,
I wonder if they were upset
Finally
that they went a
flying.
circle as well, back to town.
Well, I want to know
wonder
how
how
they
they-
figured out to get there. That's what I thought.
Exactly
That's
what-
true. another
Because if they were
plot
going
hole.
to Raven's Point, like they didn't come through the bottom, like did the Manticore know the whole time it was going to
well, she could have talked to the boyfriend, and they could have gotten as far as the bridge, or like the boulders, but they didn't know where they were heading.
Well,
And
but
so,
that's
like,
They
the
call
thing.
the cops again though when Barley showed back up and out on the fountain.
oh, that's true. That's true.
So maybe they
Yeah.
knew.
So maybe Mom
But
found
still,
out
like,
that way.
it took them a long time to get. I don't know. There's a time gap, but
There is
it's
because
gray
it's-
area.
Because
for sure.
there's a little gray area there. Because it takes them a long time to get up to Raven's Point,
Yeah.
and then that whole time when there's speeding on the river
Right.
is below ground, basically coming back that entire direction. So, yeah, we need to. Yeah, I think there's a little time gap with the
Yeah.
Mom and Manticore, but the Manticore's flying, so it's okay.
yeah,
I would
she
love
she
to have
flies, stretches
seen
those wings.
her struggling to get used to using her wings.
We
again.
definitely missed out on it was probably a deleted scene on a
I'm
wing
sure that would've been
exercise scene.
That would have been so funny.
Oh man.
But
So
I love it
good.
because they're like battling, and the Manticore like falls on her back, and she's like, "Oh my back!" and she's out of commission. Like, oh my gosh,
Like, she's done. I'm like, Manticore,
be a little bit fiercer.
come on,
Yeah.
pull it together.
So Mom, who is awesome, and at the beginning of the movie was doing this like aerobics video, and she's like hopping back and forth, and the little aerobics instructors say, "I'm a mighty warrior," and everybody goes, "I'm a mighty warrior." And so Mom
that.
picks up this giant sword and goes, "I'm a mighty warrior," and she does her little aerobic exercise all the way up.
And kills it. Does
Yeah.
so good.
Well, she doesn't
But
kill
she
it.
didn't kill it.
Sorry,
then.
she kills
When-
it, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
she
Oh,
kills
okay.
her.
Killing it.
She's killing it. Sorry.
She is
Sorry,
killing
that's
it.
what
It's like,
You missed some
No,
there,
no,
Kimberly.
she's
What
killing
are
it.
you watching?
She's
She
killing it.
is. She's strutting her
Sorry.
stuff, had her thing
Yes,
going, and
she
she's
is.
like, "Go faster! I can't hold it for much longer."
She can, because of the way the stones are, she can barely
Barely,
stab
yeah,
the
like
core,
this much
which
of the sword is in
hinders it
there.
enough.
yeah.
So this is another time issue because we see at the beginning when they start to bring Dad back the first time, we get feet up to the torso like that. So when they finally start trying to make the top half of Dad, it takes 5 minutes.
It takes forever.
It's like, and I'm like speed it up. Come on, you know.
Coming just past his
Well, and
belly
that's
button.
the.
Maybe organs are harder to form
I don't know.
than bones.
It could be. They're intricate. If you mess up, it could be terrible.
Even though he's dead and he doesn't need them. Like,
Well, the dragon is after that stone,
Mm-hmm.
and so it looks like the stone disappears when the spell's over. So if it, I was just like, I felt like they were just dragging it on, so the dragon still had something to
Yeah.
chase towards,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
anyway, it just took some time.
But anyway, so then Ian has to break away from watching the spell finish out. So I guess he didn't have to physically be there to watch the rest of it.
No, because he completed it, and then
Yeah.
the stone goes at the top, and literally is remaking Dad trickling
So
down.
he didn't have to. He was good
Yeah.
to leave, but he realized, and then Barley was like, "You stay with Dad. I'm gonna go fight the dragon." Then Ian realizes he has the magic. He needs to be the one to do this, and Barley is the one who actually knew the dad, and so he made the sacrifice and let him go back up the hill to his dad. And he fought the dragon off with all of his powers.
All of the spells.
He did all the
Uses all 7
spells,
of
had a
them.
good
Yeah.
moment. I loved it when he started running on the air, and then he did the slide. And that's
very
what I was going to talk about. Back to the gorge that they were crossing. Was I feel like they could drive the car because when he slid, it was like a whole ground
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he was on.
I guess it was just new to him,
It
though.
was,
Which
yeah.
that does present, because that's something again, I think I mentioned this a little bit, but this kid's 16 years old and has learned all of this in a day. But the whole reason magic fizzled out was because it was too hard. So he must be really good at it, for that to make sense.
Guess,
so he must be really good.
I do like the fact that at one point his staff gets broken, and he has a splinter in his hand.
I have an issue about this.
It lands in the water.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the spell,
I love
the
the spell
dragon
issue.
shakes him off because he's stopping the tail from hitting him, doing the whatever the spell is, locomo, whatever it is that stops, make it move things, and the dragon starts shaking its tail, and the staff goes flying off the cliff into the water. He has a splinter in himself, and he does the spell to make the splinter bigger, because earlier Barley said that there's magic in every fiber. And that's why you don't sand it.
Because he got a splinter the first time. He said, "Can't we sand this thing down?" He's like, "Don't sand it."
Yeah, which is a good moment. Made it bigger, so now he had his own staff again. However, the rest of the movie, he has it. It never wore off like the spell was supposed to.
Yes.
And I was like, why didn't you just go and get the other one out of the water? You know where it is.
Yeah.
Another thought, though.
Also, wizard staff is now in the water.
A wizard staff. Somebody go get it.
And that was
Akio
his
wizard
dad. Would you not
staff.
want your dad's staff?
I know. Well, and his staff too. I don't know if you saw it, but it was different. It
Yeah,
was
it
smaller.
was. It
was like
Yeah.
kid
It wasn't
size.
as
Yeah.
cool.
So I don't know if it. I don't know. It had the beginnings of the curve thing at the top, but it
I
wasn't there.
noticed that as
But
well.
another issue I had with this, I thought you were going to talk about this part. You can't cast a spell on something that you're
If you
casting
don't
a
have
spell
something to
with.
cast it with. Yeah, I also thought about that.
If you have a wand, you can't cast a spell on that wand. You can't cast a spell anyway because magic's not real. Just for you to know. Spoilers. But like I couldn't that doesn't make sense to
shouldn't tell
take
them.
that staff and cast the spell on the staff. Like you couldn't do that. So loose. He has a looseness.
Loose.
There's a gray area there.
Gray area.
But I do like he finally defeats the dragon. Like the stones fall down, the rocks of the school fall down, and he's trapped. But he is able to see like the shadow of his dad. And I love earlier on in the movie we didn't talk about this, but Barley basically said that he had a memory of dad that he hadn't shared with Ian, and that was that he didn't say goodbye when their dad was sick and in the hospital. He didn't have enough courage, or he just was overwhelmed by how sick his dad was. And
He was a really young kid. All the
was
tubes
little.
were. Dad didn't
all
look
the
like.
tubes,
I mean,
it was scary.
he was scared. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he didn't have that chance, and so Ian basically tells him have your chance to say goodbye to dad. And so Ian gets to watch this moment between Barley and their dad, and they get he sees them embrace, and then dad vanishes, which was a little heartwarming.
It was a little hard. It was one of the. It was it was a sad ending. I mean, I would call it sad.
Yeah.
But Ian had a really good attitude about it. It was
Yeah.
like, what do you want to, because he's realized Barley was that
He was-
figure for him.
Yeah.
He was happy for Barley,
was-
Barley was happy for him about magic.
It was full circle. So
It was.
it wasn't what you would expect, and you would think I wouldn't be really mad at this, but Ian just handles it well. There's a fly. On there.
Yeah,
It's
only
all around
on you.
me. It's because I'm
Okay.
so sweet.
On you.
Are we ready to ruin this by my issue with the plot here?
Yes.
Okay. So they get 24 hours with the spell. Here's my issue, because the spell doesn't really work the first time. I mean, it kind of works, but then it's broken off halfway. So the spell wasn't fully completed. So when they fully complete it, they have a fresh stone. I feel like they should have gotten 24 hours because that was when the spell was fully enacted.
They mention and they barely touch on it at the beginning. It's because it was started. Barley says something like it would just complete it and you'd have that time. At the very least, the bottom half of Dad should disappear and they should have his torso to talk to all day.
Yeah.
I would watch that sequel.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
They should.
I feel like that was a little weird. I'm like, there's some
For all we
logic.
know, maybe there is.
Yeah,
Now it's
that's the
coming to
sequel.
I feel
He
like
comes
that
back.
would have been a neat way to, because they're thinking they've only got
Yeah.
this much time, and instead of Dad disappearing all the way, it's just the bottom half, and they've got another day to talk to his top half and get it done. That would have been an interesting twist.
Weird plot twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So that happens, and then the movie kind of wraps up with showing, I guess, a few days later, maybe.
Fast forward a little bit,
It was
So-
a few months because they had redone
That's-
the little tavern.
The
Manticore.
restaurant.
Manticore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did repair that. They showed that.
Brought it back to its
They-
old glory, kind of,
yeah.
sort of.
We have
And
Guinevere
it's-
It's
2.
more.
That's what I was going to bring up.
dangerous.
Guinevere 2 is in existence now.
Colt Bronco is embracing his inner
Oh my goodness,
centaur.
his
and,
hair.
Oh, yeah.
He's got his long hair under his cap, and he's running instead of taking the car, because that's what
They said he could go up to 70 miles per hour.
centaurs could today. Yeah, so he's running again.
Yeah.
So we kind of see magic return to this
Yeah.
world. The integration of like the
Pixies are flying.
Pixies are
again.
flying.
Yeah.
Ian's got his staff with him at school.
He has
and
friends.
He has friends. He's crossed everything off his list.
Yes.
Officially, he is the new me, because it takes more than one day. But anyway, so all the good things.
Yeah.
So
So is that the end of the story?
End
We
of
covered
the
that.
story. Yeah.
Okay.
end of our
I
story.
had some facts I could read off here.
Okay.
First of all, it was directed by Dan. How do you say his last name? Scanlon? It's spelled like Scanlon. I don't know. But the only other thing that I knew him from is that I looked up that he did was he also directed Monsters University.
Oh, Scanlon. Dan Scanlon.
Dan Scanlon. Okay. And apparently this story was based on a true story of Dan Scanlon's childhood of like he didn't really know his father because his father passed away when he was 1. And so
Aw.
it started as a true story and then
That's sweet.
he
That's sweet.
embellished it into fantasy and all that when he got with
I was going to say,
Pixar,
based on a
so.
true
Unicorns.
story.
Yeah.
Magic's real, guys.
Yeah,
It's
the magic
real.
part was real. They added the part about the father. And
Yeah.
So, let's see.
That's funny.
Budget for $39 million. This was only in theaters for like a couple weeks because of the.
Did it make it to
coronavirus.
theaters?
It
It did, yeah.
In select theaters in certain places. It wasn't here,
It
was
wasn't
it?
No,
here.
Yeah, it was everywhere for at least 1 or 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it was very brief before movie theater shut down.
I'm with you,
so-
Kinley. I don't think it actually came out.
Regardless,
I could be
did,
wrong.
it did.
regardless, box office still made $103 million before they
Wow,
closed up.
that's a
so
big deal.
I'm glad they still made a profit because I was like I've been really sad about that.
Yeah.
It took 6 years to make this movie, and
Wow.
there
They've
are.
been working on this movie for 6 years. That's crazy.
So those were all my like.
Think about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What were you doing? They
let's
were
see,
starting to make this film.
2014?
Twenty-
Yeah, 2014.
2020
That's 6.
now.
Yeah, 2020 now. I was graduating college.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
where were you
grad
6
school.
years
Oh.
ago?
Where were
Grad school.
Starting grad.
Grad school. Living life.
Living life.
Anyway,
Whatever we were doing.
All right, so those are my facts, but I also have, in light of the weekend being Easter weekend, I have Easter eggs that were hidden gems.
Perfect.
Easter
That, as you
eggs.
know, most Pixar movies have little crossover hidden things amongst the other Pixar movies. So I'm going to read a few. There was a bunch of them, but I just put down a few of them that I liked. This one had nothing to do with other Pixar movies, but they had the restaurant called Burgershire that they showed. The fast food restaurant that he went to at the beginning. And Burgershire, meaning like in Lord of the Rings, it's
Yeah.
kind of reference to that. And the sign, I didn't catch it, but it says now serving second breakfast. And I was like, what? That's
Second
great.
breakfast.
I love that.
Yes.
Pixar's iconic Pizza Planet truck appears in the Troll Bridge toll scene. Did y'all catch that?
Yeah.
I just
I
think it's
didn't
neat.
catch it.
Triple Dent Gum is sold at the gas station that Ian and Barley visit, which is an Easter egg for Inside Out.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
In Manticore's Tavern, the cook is actually Remy, the rat from Ratatouille. Other members of the staff were wearing Sorcerer Mickey hats. There's even a
I did see
Pixar
that.
ball on the background emblazoned on a shield. And then the prize area, they had like some prizes on the wall, included some of the toy frogs from Toy Story 4.
That's cool.
That is cool.
And also the birthday song that they sang at the Manticore restaurant is the exact same tune that they created for Emperor's New Groove birthday song. They like nodded that. So
Nice.
not a Pixar, but still.
Still
I know.
a Disney.
I like
Nice
it.
little crossover, guys.
And then Ian's classmate at the beginning and end of the film is wearing a Monsters University hat.
And the bigger one, like looked like one of the monsters.
Yeah.
From monsters.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
noticed it because of that. I was like,
Yeah.
This is the last one that I have, but it was really good. The Phoenix Gem is orange colored, just like the MCU's Soul Stone. It gives Ian and Barley a day to interact with their father. In the Avengers Infinity War, the Soul Stone temporarily allowed Thanos to communicate with his dead daughter Gamora in the Soul World. So I was like, oh, coincidence? I don't know.
Interesting.
might have a
Interesting.
little collaboration.
And then I had a few fun questions for you. If you could do one of the spells, just one, but you could do it unlimited times, which one would it be?
Yours would be the
It'd be
fireworks.
fireworks. I just want to walk around town.
I would do the bridge one.
The bridge one?
I would do that levitating thing one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it looks like you can levitate it and then bring it towards
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm all about that.
You're on the couch, you don't have to get up.
Got my chips.
What about you?
That was the same one I was.
The same one?
Emily and I
Okay.
are just on the same page today.
We're tracking
Love
today.
it.
And then another question was, what is your favorite character? You said Guinevere.
Guinevere.
Mine was
man.
probably Barley. I really liked Barley.
Guinevere.
The Manticore.
Yes.
I love the Manticore. She's good.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
And then the last thing I have is we have a few shout outs to give to some comments we received. We made a post literally the day before the podcast. Sorry it was such short notice, but thanks for your participation. I was
Interact
just
with us. You gotta be paying
asking
attention.
what people's opinions were about the movie. So Rosie Ducharme says, or I asked, have you seen Onward yet? Her response, of course I've seen it. My favorite part was the ending. I'll try not to give too much away, but that's okay because it's a spoiler podcast. But what the younger brother was willing to give up for his brother was beautiful. I do wish it had been more about the ancient magic, like a wizard spirit that was still around, or flashbacks to the places they visited in ancient times.
That would have
Ooh,
been
that
But
would've been a
overall,
good
I really
idea.
liked it. That I
Good
like
thoughts.
that. That I didn't even cross my mind.
Stop, Rosie.
Well
Very
done.
nice, Rosie.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you. Next one is from Instagram. It is Leah Lacey, and her handle is Leah_Marie if you want to follow her and give her lots of follows, like billions from all of our
Okay.
listeners.
Moving on.
She says, this was truly an amazing movie. Dozier and I both loved it. It had Dozier is her husband.
Dozier's her husband, yeah. Thank you.
It has so much fun and different characters. It was so exciting to see where their adventure would take them next. It brought a roller coaster of emotions. I was laughing, amazed, sad, and crying by the end. Pixar outdid themselves, in my opinion. Smiley face emoji. Thank you, Leah. And then another one from Instagram, Adam Cochran, _A_Ray_90. Follow him. He says, I thought it was really great. I love how Ian's way of seeing his dad was through his relationship with his brother. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie have that kind of spin on a story and sibling relationship before. One of my favorite quotes was the mother's about, this is the longest gap year ever. That was an amazing line.
That was so great.
Thank you, Adam, Leah, and Rosie.
Oh,
So,
thanks, guys.
yeah. I guess that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Let's give our reviews.
Yes, let's do.
Let's do it.
Let's see, who should go first? Beth, you want to go first?
I always go first.
You,
Yeah, switch
we'll
it
change
up.
it up. We'll change it
That's what I'm
up.
saying.
Okay, I was like, sorry.
Okay, so I liked the film. I might watch it again. I had low expectations and it met them. But there are some things I feel like they could have just, like, I would have loved to know more about the world. I also thought, like, I liked these characters, but it was because I liked Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. And if I feel like if somebody else had played them, I don't know that I would have liked them as much. But I do think there's some redeeming moments. So I give it a 4.
Wow. Kinley, what you got?
Well, Ashley gave me her review. We had actually high expectations going in.
Okay.
And I was a little disappointed about like some of the magic pieces and some things like that. Ashley was really disappointed. She also gave it a 4. And I really liked the Manticore, but for reasons that I have expressed, the magical issues that are too many to count, and then Ian's list making problems, among other things, and just some continuity errors here and there. I gave it a 5.
A 5. Okay. I went in, I really liked it. I kind of went in with, I didn't know what to expect really. No expectations going in. Like you said, I like Chris Pratt and Tom Holland. But I, on the other hand, wasn't distracted by the fact that it was them. Like the story was so good that I forgot even who the voice actors were. I just kind of got delved into the story, and I really liked it. I gave it an 8.5.
Wow.
The only reason it was the 1.5 that's missing it was just those plot holes. But it was for what it is. Like I don't expect a Disney Pixar movie to have to be super intricate on those kind of details. So 8.5.
Wow.
Jennifer.
I I'm going to say I'm going to give it a 7. Because
Okay.
I liked it. I would watch it again. I'd be okay with us owning it. But I didn't like it as much as I liked Frozen 2. So
Okay.
it had to go a little bit under. So 7.
Right on. Calculations. I'm gonna take a sip of water while we're waiting.
Well done.
Thank you. Know any good jokes, Beth?
No.
All right.
On the spot.
It's fun.
Our crew review for this movie is 5.7.
Yikes.
But I'm
You're
glad yours was high to bring it up. So.
I enjoyed it. It was.
Well, I enjoyed it too.
And I like the diversity of our answers. Like, if we all
Yeah.
had the same opinions, it wouldn't be as.
I know, and we come from
Interesting,
different
so
places too with
we
what
do.
we were wanting from a movie. And sometimes movies just hit you in different ways depending on when you're watching it too. So I'm like Beth, I'll probably watch this movie again.
Yeah.
I did not like it. I feel like 5 for me was pretty middle of the road. It was a pretty middle of the road movie. And I'll probably watch it again. And sometimes stuff grows on you when you watch it, and sometimes you watch it too much and it goes
it
downhill.
goes
So
way
who knows,
downhill.
John? You might give it a 2 next
That's
time you
true.
watch it.
That's true.
I could give it a 10. So
All right. And for our next review movie, guess what it is?
I have no idea.
I know, we didn't talk about it, so I got them. So we'll post it on our
We'll let
social
you know.
media. So follow us. This is another reason why you should follow us, so you'll know which movie.
Yes.
You didn't get to hear it on the podcast. So anyway, I guess I'll do it.
You do.
All right.
do it.
What is the first part?
Next time.
Till next time.
Oh yeah, thanks. I froze. Until next time, we go big tonight.
Onward.